Science with Dehya.
Let's get it on!
Part 1. Elemental Skill. Dehya's elemental skill is a complex beast with three main components: a two-phased attack and a field area effect known as Fiery Sanctum. Her first cast emits a pyroblast around herself with a radius of 6 blocks, and also places the Fiery Sanctum directly ahead. Her second cast causes her to reposition the Fiery Sanctum, whilst emitting a slightly larger pyroblast with a radius of 7 blocks. Despite appearances, this blast is centered on her initial position, not the greatsword she plunges into the ground. The Fiery Sanctum lasts for 12 seconds, and this can be extended to 18 seconds with her second constellation. It applies defensive effects to active characters within a radius of 12 blocks. 1. Incoming damage is reduced by up to 50%. This effect is called Redmane's Blood, and will be covered in more detail later. 2. Characters will also gain some minor resistance to interruption, protecting against some feeble attacks from hilichurls and scholars. 3. In addition, but only for 9 seconds after the first cast, characters will become immune to interruption. This is indicated on the character, but it is not a unique display effect. Enemies within the Fiery Sanctum will suffer a coordinated pyro attack whenever they take damage, on a cooldown of 2.5 seconds. This has a blast radius of approximately 5 blocks. Damage completely negated by a shield will not trigger it, but unlike the Raiden Shogun's coordinated attack, indirect effects such as burning can. When Dehya repositions the Fiery Sanctum with her second cast, she temporarily removes it from the field. Unfortunately, this means that the damage from that cast cannot trigger the coordinated attack. One elemental particle is created every time the coordinated attack occurs. The initial and second cast of her elemental skill do not generate elemental particles. Across her entire elemental skill, none of the elemental application is restricted by an internal cooldown. Part 2. Redmane's Blood. When damage is mitigated within the Fiery Sanctum, it doesn't disappear, but is instead transferred into a separate pool called Redmane's Blood. This amount is deducted gradually by Dehya herself over a period of 10 seconds, with ticks of damage every 1 second. When HP is lost without a damage number, such as full damage and boss instant kill abilities, no mitigation occurs. Whilst Redmane's Blood is in effect, indicated by a red arrow, Dehya will take damage regardless of whether she is on field or not. Using a shield will absorb the damage, but mitigation such as Xingqiu's brain swords have no effect. In addition, after using the second cast of her elemental skill, or upon casting her elemental burst, the damage ticks from Redmane's Blood are reduced by 60% for 6 seconds. Part 3. Elemental Burst. Dehya's elemental burst executes a series of punches for 4 seconds and finishes with a kick. This is performed automatically with nearby targets chosen for you. Dodging will work at the expense of dropping punches, but jumping will interrupt it entirely. If the Fiery Sanctum is on the field at the time of casting, it is temporarily removed and then placed down again after the burst completes, with its original remaining duration. Introduced as a new mechanic in patch 3.5, Dehya utilizes a system akin to a QuickTime event from other games to speed up her attacks. Pressing the attack button at the right time will allow her to punch faster, increasing the number of punches from 6 to 10. Despite appearances, these are not classed as normal attacks. Attack speed buffs such as Jean's second constellation do not affect it. Coordinated attacks from other characters such as Yelan won't apply here either. Each punch has a rather large hitbox measuring 9 blocks long and 6 across. Her final blow deals damage in an 8-block radius. All of these reach upwards a distance of 5 blocks, which is enough to hit enemies trapped in Venti's elemental burst. Unlike regular melee attacks, her punches are not susceptible to hit lag due to its unique nature. In contrast to Eula, elemental particles can be funneled into Dehya's elemental burst via other characters or a well-timed coordinated attack. Elemental application on her punches is subject to the standard 2.5 second ICD and 3-hit rule. The final kick does not have an ICD. This means you can expect up to 5 reactions during her burst. Part 4. Stalwart and True. As Dehya takes damage via other party members, one of her passive talents allows her to recover some lost HP automatically, subject to a 20-second cooldown. This effect will trigger if her HP is 40% or less. If it is on cooldown, it will trigger automatically once available, without requiring more damage to be taken. Once triggered, she will immediately regenerate 20% HP, and then 30% more over 10 seconds. The healing bonus stat applies to this self-heal. If Dehya's HP is reduced to 0 immediately, the effect will not prevent her death. Part 5. Miscellany. Dehya's third normal attack has a very slight knockback, and the fourth is a lot more powerful. Despite pre-release controversy, the third and fourth attack do connect. However, her first attack seems to miss things occasionally. It takes 3 hits from Dehya's greatsword to break ore. Her elemental skill is not effective at this task. Dehya is competitive in her ability to gather wood for the Serenity pot quickly, taking 2.3 seconds. By comparison, Noelle also completes this task in 2.3 seconds, and Toma in 1.9 seconds. From the run-up to Dehya's release until present day, there's been a large amount of public outrage about her kit. I'd like to take a moment to voice my own concerns because, quite frankly, I think it's warranted. The first is her energy regeneration and burst cost. She creates only 1 particle every 2.5 seconds, but the only way to trigger that herself is with her normal attacks, which have terrible scaling. Her burst disables the fiery sanctum, preventing energy particles during the most useful on-field time. Particle generation should instead be upfront on both casts of her skill. This would at least allow her to collect those particles and make open world usage a lot more enjoyable. The second concern is her mitigation. It's a new, unique mechanic seemingly designed for a supporting role. However, at a cap of 50% damage transfer, the party will still need a healer, and when you do have a healer, this mitigation becomes largely irrelevant. The third is her gold-forged form, granting 100% resistance to interruption for 9 seconds. Useful, yes, but it's got a short duration, shorter than shields, and no clear indicator for when the effect wears off. Finally, my fourth concern is her damage multipliers. If Dehya's defensive capabilities were up to par, there wouldn't really be a problem here. Trade-offs are understandable. However, they're not very good, so one would expect her damage to make up for it. Her dedicated weapon and constellations would seem to agree. With Dehya being my most anticipated character from Sumeria, I am very disappointed in how her character kit was handled. I hope that you will join the community in voicing that, with the hope that parts of it will get changed for the better. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and see you next time for more science in Genshin Impact.